these three categories: relationship versus rules, experience versus information, and grace versus works. In this session, I'm going to talk about relationship versus rules, and I'm going to give just two simple pictures to help illustrate it. This is love. I mean, just enjoy it on the human level, right? You can feel the tenderness, the intimacy, the closeness. God said, Paul revealed in Ephesians 5 and 6, right? He said there's this great mystery that we see in the love between a man and a woman. And he talks about the way they submit to one another, prefer one another, cherish one another. But then he said, but really, this is a great mystery because I'm really speaking of Christ and the ecclesia. I'm really talking about a divine romance. And so everyone who's ever been in love and been married is meant to be a picture of the divine romance. This is a picture of the divine romance. See, there's just one thing, that connection between them, that eye-to-eye contact, that's life for any relationship. Guys sometimes lose this. Every woman knows this intuitively. Guys sometimes get caught up in distractions of trying to do for their spouse, and the woman intuitively knows, put your phone down, let's look at each other, let's talk. That's life for the relationship. But in this scenario, God is actually the perfect lover. And when we get distracted, when we aren't eye to eye with Him, we're no longer living in that relationship of intimacy. And what is it that can distract us? There's idols of the heart. There's actually anything but Him that causes us to turn from gazing into His eyes and studying something else. Well, guess what? When you are living according to the code, you don't need Him. That's why the law is the ministry of death. Because you were created in such a way that you only are alive, body, soul, and spirit, when you are connected deeply to Him. But as soon as it's written out, just do this. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't commit adultery. Don't murder. Now, I don't have to look at Him to know that. I've got it written in stone. And when I live out of that, I am actually turning the righteous standard of God into an idol that distracts me from Him. I cannot help but die. That's why in the garden, God said, if you eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you will surely die. We read that out of an old covenant mindset, and we think God said, you touch it, I'll kill you. He didn't. He didn't say He would kill him. He said, you turn to knowledge as something greater than me, you can't help but die because I'm your life. And now we get closer and closer trying to please Him by doing that thing. And we're actually creating feelings of being farther and farther away because we're no longer looking to Him for our life. We're trying to follow a code to please Him. And feelings of shame and separation and guilt only make it worse. Whether we are that far away or not, we feel it, and chances are we are drifting in that way because we're getting closer and closer to what we set our gaze on. How many of you have kids? You have one. When your toddler was first starting to walk, or your grandchild now, how many of you, they're just starting, they've just stood up and they're kind of leaning here. I've got 5 of these little jewels. And, you bend down and you're like, come on. and they're wobbly and they're, fearful. They fall down, they climb back up, and their eyes are kind of wide, and they take these faltering little toddling steps toward you. Your arms are right there. They feel the invitation. They feel the love. They take 2 faltering steps and fall. How many of you immediately said, "You bad child. I can't believe you failed trying to reach for me"? Go back. When you can do it right, try again. This is what we think of God when our hearts are governed by law, because we aren't looking at him. We don't see the look in his eyes. Come on. What we feel is the pressure of the code telling us, you better do this right. Being a son or daughter of God is less about cautiously avoiding errors than it is courageously seeking to know and do God's will. You're leaning towards him, you can fall 1,000 times, and every time he delights in you. He's like, "Oh, good try. That was awesome. You're going to do better next time." That's how you grow in love. That's how you grow in confidence. Your feet are on a foundation of righteousness that is rooted in him, not your performance. Your eyes are locked onto love. We have made being a son or daughter of God about avoiding sin at all cost. All of our preaching, all of our messaging is, good grief, don't make any mistakes. That's how you become holy. Meanwhile, we're filled with holes. We call that holiness. We make life and define life by the avoidance, by what we don't do, rather than the fundamental nature of his beckoning us in love.